Hello everyone, here we are outside the Basilica Roman Catholic Church in Washington DC, and I've got the lovely Penny with me. We're just going to do a short interview, guys. Penny's one of the ones that have come to DC with us, obviously on the Coalition for Children, and I'm just going to give the floor to Penny to just tell you which country she's come from and her work so far. When we get home, we'll do a longer one. We'll actually do a proper longer podcast, but just for now, just a few minutes from Penny, the country, and what you've done so far. So hi Penny.
Thank you. Do you want me to hold that?
No, sorry, go on.
So I'm from New Zealand, and I have an organisation called Let Kids Be Kids, and we formed that just over 2 years ago after looking at what was going on with the comprehensive sexuality, which we call Relationships and Sexuality Education, or RSE, in our schools. And so we are a grassroots network of parents and grandparents who are looking at what's going on in schools. We go into the schools and ask them for clarification on what's being taught in the classroom, and that in itself for New Zealand parents is not easy, because we don't know what we don't know, but then when we start to ask, we realise that actually they've cut parents out of the conversation. They don't want us to know, and that then makes us dig deeper. So that's kind of how we started, and now we do advocacy at a government level, and now international, which is why we're here.
Which is great. Have you got because in Wales we don't have like a school board where you can go in, like in America they have like where you can go in and speak to the whole school board. Do they have anything like that in New Zealand? Or
so we have, each school has a board.
Right.
So we have, so when you're talking to Canada, they have a board for about 100 different schools. In New Zealand, we have a board for each school. So parents get elected onto the board and on a 3-year cycle. And then there's also like a staff representative, a student representative, and then the principal is always on the board. So depending on the size of the school, there'll be different amounts of parents that get elected on. And I was on my school board from 2019 to 2022, which was kind of how I started to see a lot of the difficulties, as far as I coined this sort of phrase, their policies before people, and I'm people before policies. So when you're in a situation like that and you get voted in and you think that you're there to represent parents and to be the voice of parents when you're looking at how the school is run, I was told, going through the COVID time, that actually no, you're here to do as you're told. And now it's even more draconian. So parents aren't really invited in with their thoughts, beliefs, understandings. They're there to follow a process.
Right. Okay, that's interesting then, isn't it? That even on the board of education, thinking that you've got to say, then that's where you learnt that actually you haven't got to say. This is how we're going to do it. So.
And not only that, but if you have your own say. So I questioned the COVID
just
stuff.
going to ask you.
So I started. It was when the New Zealand government, Jacinda Ardern, who's someone you might have heard of, she announced, or they announced, I should say, the government, that they could vaccinate 12 to 15-year-olds without parental consent. And that's when I started to get really concerned and started asking questions, and quite quickly found that that wasn't very welcome. And I thought, this is, meant to be sort of that conversation. So that's kind of how I fell down the rabbit hole, really.
Did you, when you were there on the board, were you able to see, because we have problems with obtaining resources for RSE, that's what we call it in Wales as well, that's what we call it in the UK. We have trouble seeing those resources under copyright law. So is it the same for you guys in New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, when I was on the board, I didn't even know that we had problems with all of this stuff.
Right, okay.
It was when I came off the board, and as a parent, I asked questions. So I was actually, the reason why this has all happened to me was I think, the first person in New Zealand to go and speak at my school board and ask them questions about the sex education. I also asked them about vaccination policy, because they'd put out this measles scare, and then they'd put a document out from the Ministry of Health saying, if we have a measles case, we're going to lock down, you have to isolate. It was the same blueprint. And so I went back and said, you need to do a health and safety risk assessment. If you're not medically trained, are you actually allowed to tell parents all of that? So I went back and asked them that question around measles. But you're not aware when you're on the board that there are issues going on, because you're just at a governance level. So then I realised that what you need to do is make the board aware that there's a problem if you're going to the teacher and the teacher says, due to copyright, because that's what we started finding. As parents started to send their emails into the principal or the teacher, we would get all these emails back saying due to copyright, due to intellectual copyright, which is not copyright law. Like, copyright law is saying if you take someone's work and credit it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're saying we don't want to use it. We don't want to go and say, hey, this is our work.
Definitely not.
But what we have the right to do is to be able to look at it, and and so we always say, and you guys are on such the same page as us, if the school doesn't want you looking at something that the children are being taught, particularly if it's about sex ed and if it's about the one topic that in New Zealand you're still allowed to opt out of, red flag. That's a big red flag. And then you've got to go and dive deeper. Yeah,
this is what I actually said. I say a lot. I said, if my, because our daughter is home educated, she always has been, but if she was in school and the school was stopping me from looking at her geography work, I'd be suspicious. But when we're talking about sex education and they being really shady about those resources, no way, that is a huge red flag. And you are right, they're using the copyright excuse, but it's not actually what copyright law is anyway. But that's how they seem to be getting around not showing the parent what they plan on teaching their children, which is absolutely horrific. So in New Zealand now, after your time of campaigning, are you seeing a different, I'm not saying from a level in school, because we know that's not happening, but with parents, are they becoming more aware? Are they getting a bit on board, or is it still quite?
Well, I've travelled around the country 3 times in the last 3 years, and of course we don't have a big budget, so and we also get cancelled off Facebook groups and things like that. So it's very hard to get the word out except for word of mouth. So that's why the best thing that you can do to help organisations like us is comment, share, like, tell your friends. So we get small amounts coming out because it's not a topic people want to, but parents are waking up. Well, one of the issues that I think we have, though, is due to the nature of parenting in schools, is the parents that we were talking to 3 years ago, some of their kids have left now, and there's new parents coming in. The new ones coming in, like, parents have no clue. When they hear sex ed and the school says, oh, it's just sex ed, we think it's the sex ed that we were taught. And so parents, it's like this constant thing of having to educate parents of, it's not quite what you think. They're not being fully transparent, and most people still really just go, oh, well, that's the schools, school's doing the right thing. So it's, there are more people that are thinking that it's weird. I actually think that that's more happening because the trans industry is becoming so aggressive, and we've got pride on every street corner, and people are wondering, why is our council in debt, and then we're spending $50,000 on a rainbow crossing. It's those sorts of things
which trigger people,
making people go, hang on, actually those people that were all those what they think is extreme conservatives because they're questioning sex ed, maybe there's something there. So we kind of got to leverage what's going on in all of those areas rather than just focusing on
and actually books. I didn't think, you just hit the nail on the head there, really. I hadn't quite thought of it like that, but where you say, after a while they leave, and then those parents are gone, then you have to re-educate the ones going in. That's like, it's a constant all the time then from that point of view.
Well, and also the policies at the moment are getting kind of harsher around it. Although I will say what happened in New Zealand is we have a 3-year election cycle, and we have an MMP, which means that we have coalition governments. I'm not sure what it's like in Wales, but we actually had a 3-party coalition, which I don't think we've ever had before. And one of the parties, which only got 6% of the vote, they're the only party in New Zealand that are saying this is really woke, this is ideological, and we want to get it out. So we then advocate with them and give them the evidence that the parents have gotten at the grassroots. Excuse me, and we do everything that we can to provide them with the information. So what was one of their election promises was that they were going to remove and replace the ideological component and the gender component of the sex education. So in April this year, they removed the guidelines at a ministry level, but that hasn't removed the program in class. So when they say job done, we have to say no, actually
it's not.
And so then we're still gathering the evidence to prove that it's not job done. We wish it was. Like, we want it to be gone. We want to be able to hang our hats up and say we did it. But it isn't. And I did a Official Information Act request into the Ministry of Education in May, and I said, what are the resources that you're drawing on to write the new curriculum for sex ed? And they named curriculum from the UK, from
Oh.
Singapore, Australia, Canada, and the United Nations International Technical Guidance on Sexuality Education, which is
So it
written
hasn't changed at all then?
So it's not going to change.
No.
I don't believe it's going to change.
The thing is, it's an agenda, isn't it? So we know we've got a battle on our hands here. It's not new. This has been in there for a long time. They've just managed to get it in now and seal it, you know. It's been drip fed for a long time, since the 40s at least. So we have got a battle on our hands, but we will stick together, and it's been really great meeting you guys out here. And like I say, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Really appreciate it. Great to meet you. And we will have a longer podcast where we can go into much more detail when we get back home. So thank you very much, Penny.
It's amazing to meet you and to come across other people, organisations, because we're all ending up at the same point.
Yeah.
And we're all going in the same direction, and we're seeing the lockstep across the Western nations. And so now we're going to be able to share more of our information to prove to people that this isn't just some small thing.
Yeah.
This is a targeted attempt to destroy the family unit from within, and they know strategically, as Marxist communist theory is, that they do it by grabbing the children and turning the children against the family.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's exactly how they've done
we all
it.
talk to parents every day that that's happening. So yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Penny.
Penny. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.